Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the place to be, the virtual studios for the DJ Sessions Virtual Sessions. And coming in all the way from Montreal, Canada, we have Haas on today's show. Haas, how you doing?
Hey, Darren. Thank you for having me. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing great today. It's a beautiful sunny day, although we got the smoke from the forest fires coming in. So, there's that to deal with. But I guess since we're all trained on how to use masks, it's okay.
Good, good. Stay safe
you
out
know,
there, man.
but yeah,
Stay safe.
it's not bad. It's a beautiful, beautiful sunny day out here in Seattle, Washington. It'll probably get up in the mid 70s, 80s today. How's it out there in Montreal?
It's actually gloomy. It's gloomy. I just came back from California, and it's been a few days. It was actually raining in California, and they told me it hadn't rained in like 5 months. And I come here, and I guess I brought the rain with me, So
What were
it's
you?
raining.
What were you doing out there in Palm Springs?
I was actually in Los Angeles, and I went to San Diego. I was just connecting with some musician friends, and I went to Palm Springs because I heard all these rumors about Elvis living there and all the celebrities, and I saw all these pictures, and I'm like, okay, let me just divert my route, and I went to check it out. It's a beautiful place. I just sightseeing, nothing special in Palm Springs.
We got one of my favorite DJs lives out there, Alex Harrington, and he does a lot of he's more of like house disco, new disco,
Right.
and really, really love his jams and sets. And he gets to come up here to Seattle sometimes and play some shows. And speaking of sets, I was listening to a set right before the show, the exclusive mix that you made for the DJ session. Super excited to share that with our fans. And it was you put
Thank
it down as
you.
a house, Afro house, tech house set. That was
Yeah, so I started this, at the beginning of pandemic, the whole virtual DJ sets, like went on fire, and everybody was doing it, right? So I started this. It was called House in the House, and I started doing it. I think I did about 36 episodes, and then it kind of faded because I was hoping to go to do live shows rather than just virtual shows, and I kind of gave up on it. It didn't quite take off as I wanted it to, but it was a fun thing. And here and there, I would love to do virtual sets here and there, even no matter how many live sets we do. I think it is the future. It will hold up for the remainder of digital era, as long as we keep it digital. And yeah, I will do sets here and there, and I did one a couple weeks ago, and I will pass it on to you too, so hopefully it'll be on your channel.
awesome. And I'm so glad to see that artists, obviously over the last 2 years, we were doing our show for 10 years before
Right.
2020, and everyone would look at me kind of crazy, like, who's going to want to watch a live DJ play online? I want to go see him in person. And I'm like, okay, well, have you ever listened to the radio before? That's a DJ
Yeah.
is curating and playing music. If you ever listened to a live radio show, you're listening to that. So, but it was kind of crazy. But yeah, everyone jumping online was huge for our industry and what we do. It kind of gave validation to what we have been trying to say we were doing for so many years, which is awesome. And it wasn't just a few DJs, it was the entire community and musicians as well, and other people who got into podcasting and doing live streaming just as like a
Absolutely.
hobby of saying, I've always wanted to do this. I'm at home, can't go out. And so why don't I put something together and just start talking to my camera and start doing shows? I mean, it was like double, triple podcast growth, double, almost triple live streaming growth,
Absolutely.
which
Absolutely.
was
Like you said,
just
my background is actually, I've had a few years in the radio industry, and like you said, the traffic jams, and live and direct from clubs late at nights on Fridays and Saturdays. I think we all grew up with that prior to this
amazing.
whole, live virtual streaming. So I guess somehow we've been doing it for decades, and we didn't even know that it was virtual kind of thing, but it is officially the standard way of doing things now, for a lot of DJs to get their names out there and their sets get their sets heard. So I think it will be there for as long as we are on this earth.
Yeah. Now, have you looked at doing anything in virtual reality?
Like through my company Functasy, I've had a lot of up and coming startup companies contact us because I think not only DJs got creative, but the tech people got creative because of the DJs. So I've had a lot of the virtual reality companies contact me, but no, I haven't done anything directly with that department yet. But I'm looking into it, and I would love to learn more about it.
Well, you found the right guy to talk to, because we are launching, we just soft launched 2 virtual reality nightclubs in Altspace, and we'll be grand opening those here soon. And because we're going to be talking about Funktasy here in a moment, and because you have such an impressive roster and people and tracks and everything going out there, that in a virtual nightclub, there's so much more you can do than just coming in and having people listen to the DJs. You can do record release parties, you can do meet and greets, you know, you can do so much stuff in there that, you know, I couldn't necessarily fly out to Montreal to be at one of your record release parties, but as a collaboration, we could do the record release party. You could do a physical one in Montreal, and then also do something in virtual reality too, and have people kind of coming in from all over the world being part of that in a virtual nightclub environment. We're really excited to see the potential of what virtual reality is going to be like for the music industry as a whole, and just for socializing as a whole, what the metaverse is going to bring to the table. So we should definitely talk. We were talking pre-show about collaborating on a lot of stuff. That's one thing I forgot to talk with you about before the show. But tell us about Funktasy Records. What is the whole mission statement, and what was the purpose for creating Funktasy Records? Funktasy. I know it's fantasy. It's Funktasy. Am I saying it
right? Right. It's funk. It has nothing to do with funk music or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. You know, I was looking for a name, for a .com name to take. You know, this was before the .biz, the .org, the .fms were there. This is about, I think, 12, 13 years ago. Actually, yeah, 14 years ago. So I wanted the .com name. I'm like, okay, funk, fantasy, Funktasy, and it just came up with some gibberish name. You know, it turned out to be Funktasy. I didn't really like it, but it just, you know, somehow sank in me, and grew in me, you know, and I love it. You know, everybody loves the logo, everybody loves the name, and but we do get some, you know, demos for funk music, but we really don't specialize in funk music. It's just a made up name, you know, and it's been growing on us, you know. So let me tell you about the history. The history is you know, all my life I wanted to do music. After university, college, you know, it was really expensive. It was all analog music, and you know, I don't come from a rich background, you know, but so I was working at a restaurant, and this is a true story. I was working at a restaurant. It was a pizza joint. Somehow I ended up buying the place, not with a lot of money, but you know, the owner was a friend of mine, and I did that to build my studio, because a good studio would, you know, would cost $60,000, $70,000. We're talking 25 years ago. And I worked in that restaurant for 5 years, gathering every piece of equipment. And I gave up everything. I sold the restaurant. And 2010, I'm like, I'm going to take 2 years off, live off the money from the restaurant, and just write music. So I started sending demos to the labels, independent labels, major labels. And my music, you know, my background is pretty diverse. You know, I've done pop music, Middle Eastern music, rock music, house music. I grew up with electronic music, but my music was fusion. It was underground. So basically, I got nothing. I never heard from any labels or anyone, in fact, you know, and I had written, like, let's say 50 songs, and I sent the best 5 out there, and I got nothing. And I thought they were great, but they were not, you know. So I'm like, you know, what the heck? I'll launch my own label. Everybody just takes a website, right? And all these independent distributors like CD Baby, TuneCore, Zimbalum, what else was there? Ditto, they were popping up, and they were offering services not only to independent musicians, but also to record labels. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll do this. This was 2010. And I created a website. I remember our logo was, if I show you the logo, it's embarrassing. It was a picture of a pomegranate, which was red, with a headphone that was also had the red cups around it. That was my logo, and it said Funktasy. I'm like, what the heck? This is my logo. I'll launch a one-page website. And I started distributing my music under that. I didn't register the business. I didn't know anything. So I'm like, okay, this is my way into the whole record label thing, you know. Couple months later, I put an ad on Kijiji in Canada, which is equivalent to Craigslist in US. And one of the guys, Aristo from Toronto, he was a rapper. He contacted me. So I'm like, okay, you know what? We'll work together long distance. So that was my second artist apart from myself. And we did our first collaboration. We released it under Fantasy. A year later, a French rapper from Montreal joined us. So we were three. Up until 2016, then I realized I'm not going to be the rock star that I really wanted to be. So I decided to take things to the next level after 6 years. And I had already released about 35 tracks under the record label. So end of 2016, I got a designer. I revamped the website, basically got the shell of what it is today. And so we launched beginning of 2017. We went from 3 artists to we're about 48 artists today. And up until 2020, we were doing mostly fusion, underground, electronic. So Fantasy focuses on dance music, EDM, and everything under the EDM genre, as well as urban, hip hop, reggae, and dance hall, etc. So from 2020, the pandemic hit, we started focusing more on having at least 50% of the Fantasy content being commercial music. It has to play either on a radio station, local radio station, or it has to be festival friendly. Otherwise, we wouldn't survive. You know, if the money from the radio is not coming in, from publishing is not coming in, from all these events it's not coming in, we're not going to survive. So we still do keep the underground element in 2022 and for 2023. But like I said, we're in between commercial and the underground. So this is the history of Fantasy. We have about, I say, at least 5 releases every month, which totals to about 70, 80 releases a year. We try to keep it consistent, except this year we are revamping things again. You know, as a modern company, you have to rebrand yourself constantly. So we are going through that rebranding phase again, and we stopped our releases since the beginning of August. We just started, and we have plenty of releases for the remainder of the year. So that's the history of Fantasy. And just one other thing, apart from a record label, we're also a magazine. And the magazine, just like I was telling you before, it started as a blog. It's part of the SEO. In 2017, when we start to rebrand the company, I'm like, okay, we got to have a blog. We got to show up on Google. We got to cover things like, you know, the urban music, the EDM genres, to get demos. How the hell do we get demos in 2017? Every 14-year-old kid is making music in their mom's basement and releasing it through CD Baby and TuneCore, you know? So we started, you know, kind of like getting on the Google, exposing ourselves, and people realized, hey, you know what? They can send us our music, and we reply to every artist, whether we sign them or we don't sign them. You know what? I don't want other artists to go through what I had to go through of not getting heard, of not my music getting heard. If we can guide them, direct them, tell them why we don't sign them, we do that too. So we are a record label / magazine, but the main focus is on the music and the love for the music.
You know, it sounds like we are in like a juxtaposition where we started doing the interviews first. We started, featuring the DJs streaming live and doing the interviews with the DJs, and having them come by the studio. And then we started, as we started growing our brand, started getting into more of the news stories and making sure our content was, being curated and generated on the site. And funny enough, we have it in our works after our rebrands, which we've basically gone through 3 rebrands since 2013, when we've got our first website in 2013 just for the DJ sessions. It wasn't we didn't have the DJsessions.com until 2013. We were going under another project of mine called ITV, which then we had ITV Live, which was our live streaming division. But then we got the DJsessions.com in 13. came back in 18 and rebranded again, came back in 2021 and rebranded again. And now, you know, I think we're in version 3.3 of our website and getting ready to now go into VR as well. And we're in beta. We call our nightclubs in VR, we call it beta because we haven't even launched version 1 yet, you know, of the nightclubs. But it's always this growth process and changing the brand up. And it's cool when you get to that point where you're like, okay, we've been doing this for 2 or 3 years. Now we're going to add that component that I always wanted to add in, but just didn't have the bandwidth to do it. Now it's going to be added into this version, and you just keep growing. By the time you look back, you're like, what did I create here? I mean, you got a label, you got a magazine, you got 48 artists, you know, you're taking on submissions, you know, and one of the things we're looking at doing is also starting our own label next year as well. You know, a whole new endeavor for me to go through. I'll probably be tapping and knocking on your door going, hey, Haas, what's up?
Man.
You know, to collaborate. But all of this sounds like your mission, though, kind of follows along the same lines as ours, is that we like to feature independent artists. We like to give people the opportunity that maybe didn't know where to go, especially when it came to video production, because that was our forte. Is people may have been a good DJ or they may have been a good producer, but they knew nothing about video production or live streaming, and it wouldn't have the capability of doing it in their house. So we wanted to feature those independent artists and get them exposure out there to the world, while also working with the top names in the industry as well. Kind of sounds like our mission statements are a little parallel. That's all I was just saying. It's awesome.
Absolutely. You know what? We have a common denominator. We have a common denominator, Darren, and that's a love for music. You know, you have that love for music. You can go digital, you can go analog, you can go streaming, you can go live, you can go any way you go, any way you choose to go. It all comes down to the love for music. You know, so it absolutely that common denominator between, you know, we share that common denominator. We're working parallel with each other.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I was talking with my girlfriend the other day and saying my dream would be to travel around the world again. Everything obviously getting shut down over the last couple of years, but now being able to go back out to events and be on the red carpet at these events, experiencing the shows, talking with the artists, talking with the guests that are there at the shows, you know, going on things like Groove Cruise, or, you know, we're going to ADE next month. We're going to cover Gold Rush in Arizona, and already being asked to cover New Year's Eve events in Arizona. And then also, I mean, it's just, when it rains, it pours, and I'm glad to see that things are opening back up and people are out doing things. Like you mentioned, you had your live streaming show, but now as things are opening up, it's about getting back out and doing the physical shows, you know? So it's love of music is definitely where it's at.
We evolve as companies, we evolve as musicians, we evolve as, you know, whatever it is that we do in the digital era, you know? So I'm glad, you know, things are taking off for you guys. And since I got to know you and your company and what you guys do, honestly, I do salute you. And we need more individuals like you who support us, the creators. You're creators too, but your creation supports us as music creators. You know, you are the people that get us heard. And I really thank you. And I really wish you, you know, success. And because I know with your success, we'll be successful too. So,
well, speaking about love for music, we're going to transition here a little bit in your latest release, Room for Love. Tell us about the inspiration, about making the inspiration behind that song and what that track means to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this track is a collaboration between myself, which I'm based in Canada, and Jamaica's Redibo, a talented ragga artist and a singer. She's from Jamaica originally, but she lives in Amsterdam. And Wemi. Wemi is a wonderful, wonderful talent from Nigeria. And again, I met these people through Funktasy. So Funktasy is not only a record label that I operate or I oversee its day-to-day activities, but it also connects me to other artists. And before speaking about this track, I'm going to go back to 2020. 2020, I was more of before 2020, I was more of an underground artist. And since 2020, personally myself, instead of just being, electro house or tech house or minimal tech, I wanted to go out there and explore different genres. So since 2020, I've done dance music, I've done EDM, I've done tech house, I've done hip hop, I've done reggae, I've done dance hall. And this last track is more of a mixture of Afrobeat, Afropop, pop, reggae, and even a bit of folk music with the guitar rhythms and the guitar melodies. So this last track not only was a beautiful collaboration, it was a symbol of my musical evolution. I learned a lot over the years, and I don't want to be just a dance artist because I grew up loving all genres. I'm not going to be great at creating every genre, but I want to put out something different. My love for electronic music is always there. I will, I think, there's one guy I can relate to is David Guetta, because, up until a couple of years, whenever he put on an album, he would have like a side B or second. If he had, like, let's say he worked with Rihanna or Justin Bieber or whoever he worked with, then he would have a second album, which is just pure electronic, pure underground. He had the love for that. And my love for electronic music is there, but I would love to explore different genres. And this track, it was in the making for about 3-4 months. Redible actually suggested working with myself and Wemi, and I put a beat together. I've learned to work long distance. It took me a year, but it's an easy process. I just create a simple beat just with bass and maybe a piano. I send it to the artist. I'm like, listen, just sing your heart out on this, and I will construct the song based on your feelings. So it's a process of addition and elimination, but we've learned to work together long distance. I've never met Wimi and I've never met Redible face to face, and I would love to very soon. But this track just, again, had a combination of love for music and learning to work post-pandemic long distance. I don't think I was able to do this prior to the pandemic because I didn't have the experience of working virtually or being on Zoom constantly or learning to create or connect virtually. And I've learned that over the last couple of years. I think all of us have. So this song was a result. I think part of it was contributed, part of the creation was contributed by the pandemic. So that's the track. It's out right now everywhere by Funktasy. It's called Room for Love. So please check it out. And I would love to hear your comments. And if you love it, share it, please.
Now, are you a hardware or software producer or both? And what are some of your favorite pieces of gear to use or programs to use?
Absolutely. I was 100% hardware. Then I became 50% hardware. Now I'm about 5% hardware. Okay. I'm a lazy producer. I do love the warmth of the analog gear. I do love, just tweaking stuff, feeling it, the cutoff, the resonance, the everything, the distortion. But, I think all of us got lazy with this whole digital, the presets, the savings, the recalls, and, just make it easy to create. Yes, I do lose. I say, I think it still lose about 15% of that warmth in my final creation, but I downsized a lot. I got rid of all my amplifiers and distortion pedals and everything. There's a couple of things that I still go hardware. One is vocals. So I definitely would love a nice preamp, a great mic, etc. That's definitely, it's got to be there. I know we usually do most of our vocal recordings in soundproof professional recording studios. But when it comes to creating beats or even synthesizers, I use a lot of VSTs. I'm a big fan of Universal Audio. It's actually one of the first pieces of digital gear that I God, I think I got the UAD one back in 2005. So yeah, I'm a Universal Audio. I use a lot of native instruments for sound creation, and what else? Toys. I also use a lot of waves, and recently I'm using a bit of Slate Digital. But like I said, apart from vocals and guitar, rest of my production is pretty much digital.
And producing music stands completely synonymous with spending countless hours behind the computer or the hardware sculpting your beats. Where do you find the free time to stay fit?
Rephrase that question, because I could have many answers for that question. So,
so if you're sitting, I took a desk job once back when I stopped working for Apple back in 2007, and I took a desk job and I added about 15 pounds to myself because there was a kitchen downstairs that served breakfast, lunch, and then served like a post lunch, almost a dinner. And I put some weight on sitting in that chair working that computer job. So I don't know if you have a standing desk that you work at, or if you sit and you're producing your beats, you're sitting at your desk. How do you stay fit? Like, how do you stay in shape? Because a lot of people can add that.
I gained about 15 pounds of the COVID pounds. So I gained about 15 pounds. I'm trying to lose it right now. But one thing I do, honestly, is I know a lot of producers, they go from A to Z of creation in like few hours. For me, it takes me weeks to, fine tune my songs. So I do a lot of walking. One thing I love to do, and I learned this from one of the producers. I know why I love going behind my speakers to listen to what I did. I guess it gives me a different perspective. So I do a lot of, once I make a beat, I think I spend more time walking in my studio, listening to what I did multiple times than the amount of time it takes me to create that beat. And I go around, my desk, and I try to listen from every angle possible. So again, I'm not a very athletic guy. I try to keep fit as much as I can, but it doesn't help. But one thing I do shake my butt a lot in my chairs. I've gone through a few chairs, So that's something that I do. But no, I'm not a very athletic producer, if that's what you're asking me.
No, and you mentioned going back and forth to listen to in your speakers. If you could advise upcoming producers on monitor speakers to use in the studio, which ones would you recommend using?
Oh, man, you just hit the spot with that question. Yeah, I think I spent more time in my 20 years of being in the music industry searching for the right monitor speakers than any other piece of gear. I have gone through literally, and I'm not exaggerating, maybe 15, 16 of monitors, just in the last 6 years. I don't know if you guys see, I'm going to move this a little bit. So I have my Barefoots, then I have which is the Footprint 01s. Then I have the Adam A7 X's, and I do have the Yamaha NS10s. So Yamaha NS10s is the black monitor speakers with the white cones that you see in every major studio. They've been around since, I think, late 70s. Mm-hmm. And they've been discontinued since 2001. They are great for vocals and mid-range, okay? My go-to monitor is the Adam A7X. I picked one up, at the beginning of pandemic. I heard great things about them. A lot of rock producers and techno producers, they use them. And some people find the high end pretty harsh on them, but I love it. It's just so clear and crisp. Everything is right there where it needs to be. The Barefoots are great. Eventually, I would love to get a pair of MM27s, which are the bigger brothers, or MM26. But they're a little bit overpowering for the space that I'm in. They do have the big subwoofers on the sides. So one thing I'll tell you is you have to train your ears. If you want to choose the right monitors, you have to test drive them, listen in different environments, okay? It's just like a car. Some people love BMW, some people love a Mercedes. You can't convince a BMW guy to love a Mercedes. Okay? Same thing with monitors. For me personally, I have different, I utilize them in different ways. Like I said, if just during production, I listen to my A7Xs. When it comes to fine tuning my snares, my guitars, and my vocals, I use the Yamaha NS10s. And just for the overall fatness, I use the footprints, the barefoot footprints. And but still, I'm going to tell you, the last leg of the work for me is taking a drive in my car, listening to the track while I'm driving. Really, I could have the best speakers, the best monitors, $50,000 monitors, but driving, I don't know if it is. I don't know if it changes your mindset because you're driving. It disconnects your eyes from your ears. I don't know what it is, but you hear all the flaws while you're driving. That's at least that's the way for me and a lot of my buddies that are producers. So
awesome. Now, how are you switching between those speakers? Do you have to get behind them and unhook and hook them in each time, or are they all on a switch
no,
system?
I used to have different monitor controllers, but now I have the UAD Apollo.
Okay.
The UAD Apollo takes 3 inputs for 3 different monitors. So it's just a push of a button going between three monitors. And it's perfect. Perfect.
That works. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Now, do you have any pets, and are they allowed in the studio with you while you're producing?
Of course, man. I have my buddy Bongo. He's a 8-year-old Boston Terrier, and he grew up, and he grew up in the peak of my production years. So he's learned to work with me. He respects, my work hours. If he gets bored, he just comes to me and gives me a little tap on the leg. And I know I got to play with him for a couple of minutes, And no, he's allowed. He's very respectful. We respect each other's boundaries. And it's great to have him around. He's inspirational.
Boston Terriers are by far my most favorite dog in the entire world, by the way.
Beautiful creature.
Had one growing up as a child. It was awesome, smart, energetic. I mean, just spitfire firecracker of dogs that just are very, very smart. So that's awesome. You got a studio buddy to hang out with in there.
Absolutely.
What would you consider one of your worst habits that you have when it comes to your involvement in the music industry, and are you planning to get rid of it?
Worst habits. Worst habits. I think I'm too much of a perfectionist. I think most musicians are. I think the best example is, when I started, our pack of musicians was about, 10 or 12 guys, in our early 20s. I think I'm the only guy who ended up actually working the music industry, because the other 9 or 10 of them, or 10 or 11 of them, were waiting for that first perfect song. You always want it to sound perfect, and it will never sound perfect. Your second song is better than your first song, and your third song is better than your second song. And that's a habit that's still, that's been harvested in all of us and in myself too. I still, for example, the track before Room for Love, it's called All Beater. It's a collaboration between myself and 2 talented brothers out of Alberta, Canada. They have a rock background. They're called Cavelli. And I guarantee you, I promise you, I did 53 final mixes for that. 53 final mixes. And I'm trying to, outgrow that. But for certain songs, because that song, we're pitching it to all commercial radio stations across North America and Europe. So I want it to be perfect, because I knew once it's out there, I cannot go back and fix it unless we do a remix or another version mix, So that's why.
And is there something that you would like to say to new and upcoming producers to watch out for when it comes to making their career successful?
Unfortunately, music nowadays is, to make it in the music industry, I say it's 20% content, 80% marketing. Okay. It is what it is. So to watch out for is concentrate on your music, but also watch out how you market your music. It's a problem I've had. Some of us are better marketing specialists than others, but watch out how you market your things. Give it time. Don't rush into things and don't expect miracles overnight. Do it right. Give it time.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up about the 2080 rule. I brought this up over the last few months. There was an article came across, and it was a female artist, and her label said, go out and make a viral video to put on TikTok to make to make yourself popular so people see what you're doing. And she came back and she made a video on TikTok talking about kind of how she was pissed off that her label was asking her to make a viral video. She goes, that's not my job to make a viral video, to do that for you guys. You shouldn't be asking me to do that. And that went viral. But also somewhere in that, there was a link to an article saying that back in the day before social media, it was, 80% music creation, 20% marketing. Nowadays, it's 20% creation and 80% marketing, or that social media, that what you just said right there, the pie chart has severely shifted. And a lot of artists, they don't spend time going and getting marketing degrees. They don't spend time, people can do social media, but doing social media and posting something on social media, two completely separate things, and it sometimes takes a little bit of a boost, a little bit of, money sometimes to promote. And people think, oh, well, I'm just going to go with the status quo and I'm going to put it out there on Facebook. That's why, in 2020, we took a step back as an online live streaming brand because everyone we saw, everyone we knew, everyone that I was friends with for years jumped online and started doing a live streaming DJ show. And I call 2020 the look at me year, because every single post you saw on social media was, look at me, I'm going live. Look at me, I'm going live. Look at the podcast. Look at me. And where people could have collaborated together, which is what we were trying to do, is collaborate people together. Everyone wanted to go out and try to get their own piece of the fame or their own piece of the action. And what I saw that was funny is, if you have 5,000 people in the world going live at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, their fans could only watch one show at one time. I mean, you could turn the shows on, but you'd only be able to listen to one show at one time. So if you didn't choose the right times to go on, you're drowned it out, and you might only get 10, 15, 5 viewers watching, because you might be going up against some other big name DJ who's also streaming live at 8 p.m. and they got 10,000 people watching them, And it was very interesting to see that happen. I think a lot of people got disenfranchised because they thought they could just go out there and then put on their social media, not also understanding that social media, like your main Facebook page, only reaches 3 to 5% of your friends. And if you have 1,000 people, okay, that's reaching, 30 to 50 people. And if they're on a good day, if they're online and if they see it with all the other stuff that's coming down the line as well, so it's just crazy. You almost have to get a degree in social media management or bring on somebody that understands that to help promote. And it could be a full-time job in itself. I know, because I have a few people that I work with to help us out. And this as well. You have writers and people that you work with, and your success with getting up and into the Google ranks is huge with SEO and SEM and 3 keywords that some people know about what they mean. Some people have no idea what that means, and having enough copy that's over 350 words with 5 to 7 keywords in there that say it 3 to 7 times, to start ranking organic. It's a lot for people to process. But I think we'll start to see a balance of that come out as people get more wise and more hip to these things. Speaking of getting famous and kind of becoming a online media sensation, how do you deal with fame?
I don't think about it. I don't think about fame. I'm not doing this because I want to be famous. You know,
Mhm.
if I wanted to be famous, I'll keep my restaurant. I'll probably be more successful than I am today. You know, I love music. I grew up with music. I sacrificed a lot of things for music. I planned my life for music. I don't do music. You know, if I want to be famous, I can spend $100 on my next Instagram post and get 20,000 likes. You know, I don't care for that. Yes, I would love to have fans who appreciate my music, who appreciate my work, you know, and if they like my personality, great. But if you're doing this for fame, don't do it. Do it for the love of it. Do it because it's a passion. It's a passion that you're turning into a career, you know, and it's a self fulfillment. That's what it is for me. It's self fulfillment. But at the same time, you know, speaking of fame, I do have an advice for a lot of up and coming artists. It's something that I see as a label director that I deal with. Going back to marketing, you know, you need the fame and success do go hand in hand. But I think fame should be created from the success, not the other way around. You know, I shouldn't. I want to do this because I want to be a successful musician, and that would bring me fame. You know, but if I want to do just because I want to be famous, I'm doing it backwards. You know, I would put less focus on the quality of my music. I would put more quality on my Instagram photos. You know, it's true. But one thing I want to tell you, at the same time, as part of the whole success formula, and as part of the whole marketing strategy, I'm dealing with a lot of up and coming artists that want to be in the spotlight. They want to grow big, but they're not marketing themselves. You know, going back to that video of, uh, you know, creating a video for a record label. I don't expect that from my artist, but at least push your music. You don't want to be in the spotlight, then don't expect to be as, you know, on stage, people, you know, knowing who you are. If you want to get known, you have to push yourself onto the spotlight. You have to be a center of attention. You have to focus your marketing on yourself. If you just want to be a bedroom DJ, then you're going to be a monitor mix engineer on the side of the stage. You're not going to be performing on that stage. It's true, you know. So I'm just
Yeah.
saying, understand where you want to end up and work towards that. If you want to be the next Tiesto, then yes, you have to put your face out there. You have to smile. You have to be a sunshine every day. You have to do, you know, introductory videos, and uh, you have to put yourself out there. Basically, simple
Mhm.
as that. You know,
Mhm.
don't expect to be in the spotlight without ever putting yourself in the spotlight.
What do you think the most important thing that record labels should do for their artists? And are most record labels doing a good job with that?
Um, you know, artists, apart from getting their track heard, you know, with good numbers, I think the most important thing for artists, for myself as an artist, and all, you know, the funky artists that I speak with on a weekly basis, is honesty. There is no guaranteed formula in this industry. You could have the best track, and I could invest $150,000 into it, and I could probably never get more than $2,000 back. It's true. So even the same thing for major labels like Sony, you know, Universal. There's no formula to success. There is ways of doing it right, but nothing is guaranteed. So the best that I could do is keep the communication open, be honest, you know. And another thing that I want to warn a lot of artists about is phony record labels that don't do their admin work properly. Okay, as part of the admin work, there's registrations. Make sure you are, as an artist, you're registered with your PROs. You know, in US you have ASCAP, BMI. In Canada we have SOCAN. uh, Make sure you are registered, and make sure the label is registering everything properly. Don't just, you know, put all your eggs in one basket and expect money for sales on Spotify. Your music could get played in gymnasiums, in hockey arenas, basketball arenas, and you could be generating money from that. But if
Mhm.
your music is not registered, if you will never collect money for that. And also another thing is I see a lot of problems with contracts, with agreements between artists and record labels, which a lot of people get in trouble for later on. Make sure all the rights, make sure all the uh, royalties, they're specified clearly within that agreement, the duration of it. So that's how you distinguish phony record labels. Because, and like I said, I started a phony record label in 2010 before I learned what a record label is. I just had a website. But then 2017, I spent over $25,000 on legal fees with a lawyer, with different lawyers actually, to get the business registered, to have to do my taxes, to have proper agreements. We have over, I think, 17 different types of agreements. It could be a remix agreement. It could be a feature agreement. It could be a distribution agreement. It could be just a publishing agreement, So make sure as an artist, you do contribute some time to learning and self-educating yourself about these things.
Absolutely. It's with the internet nowadays and people being able to research this. I started, back in 2000 when we came out of public access television. Public access, there was no contracts, there was no agreements. It wasn't LA, it wasn't a Hollywood based production area up here in Seattle. And so when I went in 2000, I started working on this broadcast television pilot episode. I quickly became an associate producer and overnight was in charge of putting together all the contracts. And I got a book literally called The Business of Doing Television. And in the back of that book, it had 27 different contracts, everything you'd ever want back there. I still use some of those contracts to this day. My standard when a DJ signs on board as a resident DJ with us, I think I have 6 or 7 of those contracts or agreements that are in place. These are just standard boilerplate stuff to have, like a personal release, like a service agreement, like a code of conduct agreement, limited liability, all these. I have an NDA, that's in there. Right. And you present that to a lot of people and they're like, whoa, what's this? You're hitting me with these contracts. I'm like, these are kind of standard to have in the industry because it sets forth the terms of what we're going to work. Both of us are responsible for. I'll come and say I'm responsible for production, but you're also going to be responsible for this, this, and this as well. And we got to make sure this is all in black and white. And, that makes the partnership so much better because that way it isn't a handshake or an expectation deal where things can maybe get a little convoluted, or if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist, and all that fun stuff. So I'm huge on contracts, and you're right. A lot of people can start up their faux businesses. But I look at it almost as like, if somebody comes to me and says they're in business or they're doing something, I'm like, okay, do you have a business license?
Exactly.
If not, you're a hobbyist. You're not in business. That's a hobby. You may have a passionate hobby. You may have an awesome hobby. You may even be earning money or revenue at your hobby, but you're not in business. If something were to happen, you could be sued directly if you aren't running your stuff with an LLC or a corporation. And, if you don't understand that, then you're really not in business, And so I think I wish there was more advocacy in the industry for artists to take that step like you did and go to a lawyer and get everything set up properly and go, okay, I'm officially in business. Doesn't mean you're going to make any money, but you're officially in business.
No, for sure. I mean, you gotta have a foundation, Mm-hmm. Anything legit, whether it's a building or a business, you gotta have a foundation. You can't construct a building without a foundation. You can't run a business without a foundation. And foundation, there's 2 types of foundations. There's the legal foundation between you and Uncle Sam and whoever it is, and there's the foundation between you and your employees, and then there's also the foundation between you and your clients. So you have to have a foundation for all these 3 things: the government, the employees, and the clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And always have a good plan, in effect. I tell that with a lot of my DJs to sit down and go, where do you want to be in a couple of years? What's your goal? And then how do we get you there? And how do you accomplish that? And I can say you can start beefing this up by setting goals and then seeing where you're at in a month or seeing where you're at. I call it a 30, 60, 90, 6-month, 1-year plan. Set those goals up. Where do you want to be? And are they realistic and achievable? If they aren't, then we kind of scale it back and go, what is realistic and achievable? What can we do, to make things happen for you? So, we're going to start wrapping things up here just a little bit. Is there anything you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know? I've had a great time talking about all this stuff, and I know we're going to be following up with you again, like we do every 6 months with artists that are coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you go?
Honestly, like, listen, if you're a producer and you're trying to gain more exposure for yourself, stick to your love. Stick to your brand, stick to your sound. If you want to join the Funktasy, send us your music, demos@funktasy.com. If you like to collaborate with me, I love to collaborate with everybody. Make sure that contact me, haasmusic.com. My contacts right there. So anyway, we can help, either myself as an individual or us as a company. Hey, we're there. If you're a business, you like to collaborate with us, contact us. Doors are open. It's all about networking, 2022, 2023, and so on. It's all about networking. So go out for your love, do what you do best, and network properly too,
Absolutely. I think networking is a key factor of doing this, because I have a saying, and I'm not sure who quoted it, but I saw it online a long time ago. I should know who quoted this, but you miss 100% of the shots you never take. And if you also miss 100% of those connections, you never handshake. Now I'm going to quote that one right there. That's mine. You miss 100% of the connections you never get. Because I'm going to go back and rewind that. What did I say?
And I have a saying by Darren. I say one change can change everything, right? So make the right change.
Absolutely. Well, Haas, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. We will be
Likewise.
following up with you. We look forward to also featuring more of the Funktasy artists on the show coming up here and collaborating with you and the team in the future. Sure. Thank you again for coming on the DJ session today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Darren. And see you on big stages, man.
Absolutely. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, Meta, Facebook. Find us in virtual reality at Altspace. We got our nightclubs there, or even Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Play, and soon to be Apple TV. And download that DJ Sessions app as well. Version 1 is out now at our website, thedjsessions.com. That's Haas coming in from Montreal, Canada, and I'm Darren coming to you from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington for the DJ Sessions presents the virtual sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.